Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and also thank you to Ranking Member Reed, again, Chairman Wicker and Leader Thune for working with me to hold this meeting. I first want to acknowledge the horrific shooting in DC, as the Chairman has already acknowledged, resulting in the tragic death of Specialist Sarah Beckstrom and injury of Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. These heroes served with honor and showed up to do the mission despite the risks, as our service members always do. It is a tragedy that never should have happened in the first place. That is exactly why I led my colleagues to push for this hearing. Military service involves risks, and our service members accept those risks knowingly, selflessly. So we better be damn sure that the mission is the right one. That it is a clear and effective mission, that it serves our national security. If we stand by while this administration pursues another irresponsible, open-ended campaign with no defined mission, no clear authorities, no set timeline, and no transparent end state, we fail our troops. We fail their families, and we fail the American people. Today, we must shine a light on the cost of these domestic deployments to the American people and to those who wear the uniform of this great nation. I look forward to getting answers about where this administration's crusade of misusing the military in American cities is going, and hearing how anyone can justify the damage it is doing to our service members, to civil rights, our public trust in the military, and our service members' ability to execute their critical war-fighting missions. Look, one of the proudest moments in my life was when the first time I ever raised my hand to swear my oath to the Constitution as a member of the Illinois Army National Guard. I cherished every day, every single day that I got to call myself a soldier. And it's because I love our military so deeply that I refuse to let anyone, including the president, abuse it for their own gain. Right now, thousands of troops are deployed across the country under false pretenses. Here in DC, the National Guard has been performing missions that don't help with their military training, like spreading mulch and picking up trash, but that, as we have sadly seen, nonetheless carry risk for our service members. Let me be clear, safety in our community is paramount, but these deployments do not make our streets safer. They do not keep our families more secure. In fact, it is just the opposite. Instead, President Trump has taken our troops away from their core mission just to do his personal bidding, forcing them to patrol tourist areas in DC or invade a city where residents are peacefully protesting his inhumane policies. We know Trump's actions are not about so-called law and order. If he cared about law and order, he wouldn't have quite literally defunded our police by freezing and slashing federal dollars that help to hire, train, and equip law enforcement. If this administration cared about law and order, it would not be ignoring the growing number of judges, including those appointed by Trump himself, who've deemed these deployments illegal. In Illinois, a judge from the Northern District found that DHS's account of the situation on the ground, and I quote, was simply unreliable, end quote. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit, in a 3-judge panel that featured 2 Republican-appointed judges, including a Trump appointee, upheld this view that, and I quote, the facts do not justify the president's action, end quote. These judges went further, explaining that political opposition is not rebellion, and reaffirming that First Amendment activity in Illinois is not the sort of threat that would justify a military deployment. Similarly, another Trump-appointed federal judge, this time in Oregon, wrote that the administration had no credible evidence that the protests had gotten out of control and that the president's basis for deploying the Guard was untethered to the facts. Our troops deserve to know why they are being asked to do such legally unprecedented and deeply unpopular things on American soil. And make no mistake, this is deeply unpopular. Most Americans don't want this. Poll after poll has found that a majority of Americans oppose deploying troops for missions that should be handled by law enforcement. This all raises a core question for our hearing today. Why is this administration so focused on turning our military against Americans here at home? Our military's #1 priority must be readiness. We face real growing threats from China, Russia, Iran, and more bad actors on a global stage. The Department of Defense needs to be laser focused on preparing our troops to defend America's interests abroad, not performing tasks that are meant to be done by civilian law enforcement here at home. No one else can do the critical work of keeping our families safe from these actual threats. And our troops are already stretched thin for time and resources, yet these deployments are burning priceless readiness, morale, and resources on open-ended, unjustified missions. So far, this administration is estimated to have spent over $341.3 million on the deployments to Illinois, LA, Oregon, DC, and Memphis alone, not including the cost of thousands of troops along the border. But these costs are tabulated in more than taxpayer dollars and cannot be overstated, nor can the risk that comes with politicizing our troops for one man's gain. So let me close with this. Enabling the president, any president, to send military troops into American cities under transparently flimsy pretexts to meet his whims will have a dangerous and profoundly damaging impact on our nation's military. Our heroes did not sign up for this. They signed up to defend Americans' rights to free speech, not to intimidate Americans from exercising that right. They were willing to die to defend this country, not to defend one man's partisan agenda. We cannot stay silent as our troops' willingness to sacrifice is abused, or as President Trump erodes the hard-won trust our military has earned from the American public. Because while our armed forces have a sacred role in our country, public trust can be easily lost when the commander-in-chief uses them so recklessly, especially when that commander-in-chief has already gone so far as to suggest that the military uses American cities as, and I quote, training grounds for, again, I quote the president, the war within. Look, these days, I may no longer be wearing my Army uniform, but it is still hanging up in my closet. But as a senator and as a member of this committee, my core mission remains the same as when I was in the National Guard, to keep America as strong and as safe as she should be. The power to deploy our troops domestically must remain exceptional, accountable, and rooted in law, not in one man's judgment about what constitutes disorder. That's why I'm here today. That's why I'm so outraged. That is why I am so determined to make sure that, for the sake of our troops, we get some answers today. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.